Hello and welcome to this edition of the Weighin Podcast, where we talk to experts from within and out with the sport of boxing to deliver insight and advice that could deliver the gains that will turn you into a winner. My name is Stuart Rovajur, and today I'm delighted to introduce a prodigious boxing talent, Craig Morgan. Craig scaled the heights as an amateur boxer and is doing the same as a professional. He's currently 7-0. Here we talk to Craig about his professional aspirations, what he finds toughest about being a professional sportsman, staying motivated and turning vegan. What is your ultimate goal, your North Star, to use the word du jour, and have you got a plan to take you there? You know, do you have this 5-year plan to take you to a world championship or whatever your goal actually is?
Well, the ultimate goal is obviously to be a world champion, but my own goal and my personal goal is to afford the house, afford the car and provide for my family when I'm older. So if I can get that without a world title belt, I'm more than happy. The titles and the belts are just a bonus. So that is my goal. And what was the other question you said, sorry?
What have you got a roadmap so you can say at the end of year one I'm going to have achieved, well, at the moment you're 7-0, at the end of this year I'm going to be 9-0, and just have you got it worked out in that much detail? I
do. I can't really go into that much detail with it because that's like some for me and my coach to obviously discuss it. But this year I know I was meant to have a 6-rounder, 2 8s, and then a homecoming fight in Dunfermline for am I allowed to say it? I don't know. A title in some sorts. I can't say exactly what title it is because it will more than likely be happening next year.
Of course, you're given all the restrictions that we're living through.
So we're obviously hoping for the end of next year for a title. It was meant to be this year, roughly about this time, but obviously everything that's going on with coronavirus and that has had to get postponed till next year. So I'm hoping maybe at the end of next year try and get to about 11-12-0. If I get to that, I'm more than happy, and then we'll start looking for promoters and all that.
Okay.
But for the time being, I'm happy where I am. I'm happy with my unbeaten record. I'm going strong. I'm winning. I'm maybe not knocking people out, but I'm putting them down, and I'm doing enough to win the fight. Yeah. I've not lost a round yet in 7 professional fights, so I think that's about 30 or 40 rounds I've done. Not lost a round yet, so I'm happy with that.
Earlier this year, you announced that you were going onto a plant-based diet. Has that made any significant difference to your energy levels, your ability to hit weight, and is it something that you would advocate other people to take up?
I would advise everybody to do it. It was one of the things where I've kind of thought to myself, that's going to be a big change, I don't know if I'll like it. But you know, if you just take your time in preparing your own food and seeing what you're putting in it, and then you actually check the beneficial sides to it, after 4 weeks you think you're a machine. Like it changes your whole demeanour on life. You think everything a bit further. You look for that extra mile when you're training. Like if I was to go training and have a smoked sausage roll or whatever it was, you wouldn't feel the best training. But if I was to go and have a nice plant-based meal and a nice smoothie or whatever after it, I feel like I could maybe push that extra mile in the run, and I could do that extra couple rounds on the bags. Like you've got that killer instinct which you need in boxing, and it's not because of the food. It's obviously it's just helping your mindset be fitter and better. And that was the main thing I noticed when after about 4 or 5 weeks, my weight was bang on. I was as bad as this sounds, and I know it's boxing, but I wanted to go into the ring and I wanted to take my opponent's face off. And again, that sounds bad, but that's the instinct I wanted to have. And in the previous fights, I've just been thinking, I'll just go in and I'll win. But like that last fight there, I wanted to do damage, and that's a kind of side I've not seen in myself. But it was a good side, because you had to get that, if that makes sense. To be a boxer, you have to have that bit of confidence in you have to have that bit of roughness in you. So it kind of brought out a side that I've never seen, and I liked it. So it's definitely a thing that I'm going to keep doing.
Are you recommending it to other people? Is it common in the ranks of pro fighters? Is there a lot more veganism? I
don't actually know. I know there's a couple of high level athletes, not in boxing, but I know, like, I'm sure Lewis Hamilton's a vegan. It's either Serena or Venus Williams, one of them's a vegan. So there's top, like, legendary athletes who are plant based. So it's there's a program on Netflix called Game Changers.
Yeah.
And everybody's seen it, but everything they're saying is true facts, and that was what kind of turned me for good, but made me try it for one of my fights. Every fight I do a different diet, so maybe I'll cut out fish on one fight, maybe I'll just do steaks one fight. I've done it through the amateurs as well, but this is definitely not a diet, but like a life change and kind of diet. This has changed me for the better, so I will definitely stick to that.
Well, being a pro fighter, what's the hardest part of being a pro fighter?
Selling tickets.
Is that right? It's the business side of things.
It is. If you're a boxer and not really out there in the ranks, if that makes sense, if no one knows you and you have to sell tickets for that, if you don't sell enough tickets, if you don't hit that line where you have to be, you're not getting paid. You're not making enough money. You're not getting signed off promoters because you can't sell tickets. It's like a vicious circle, and it all comes down to tickets and your fan base. If you've got a good fan base and you're selling a lot of tickets, that's you. You're kind of sorted. You can sell tickets the rest of your life, but you want to sell tickets so you can get that promoter, so you don't have to sell tickets in the future. It could be pay-per-view and all that. That and the training. But that and the diet, and besides that,
I guess you enjoy the training side because you keep your motivation. Were you aware of the business side of being a pro boxer before you came into it, or was it just something you had to learn?
I knew I had to sell tickets, but I didn't know like the line that I had to sell. So if I had to sell a certain amount of tickets to get my pay, I had to sell this amount to make that amount. It was I thought it would have just been like, there's the tickets, you sell them, you'll get paid this. But it's no kind of like that. It's like once you've sold your tickets, you've got percentages to come off, then you've got opponents, then you've got promoters, and then there's a lot of things that a lot of people didn't really realise when they're turning professional. And even when you do turn professional, you've got like MRI scans, brain scans, you've got all that, blood tests. Just my first year of turning pro, I think it was just over £1,000. I had to get 2 scans. So it's normally probably about £600 to £700, but it's no cheap being a pro boxer. Once you've got your kit, if you're going for the best of kit, which you kind of have to get when you're turning pro, if you're going for a winning kit or a raised kit, for groin guard, head guard, and gloves, you're probably talking about £800-900.
Yeah.
So it's an expensive sport, but I suppose you need the best of stuff to protect yourself and to give damage out. So it's one of the ones. It's a good sport, but it's hard at times.
So I guess as well as that will bring its stresses to it as well. So obviously, how do you manage the stress? You know, one, you've got to sell the tickets, you've got to win, you've got to train. Do you get stressed, and how do you manage stress? Ticket wise, pretty much my dad does the phone calls, my mum does the money, and I put it on Facebook. So I'm not doing everything myself. My dad's pretty much going out and he's giving them. So if I'm coming up for a fight, he's going dropping the tickets off. I maybe drop the odd 1 or 2 off to my friends, but it's mainly like, so maybe my dad's friend, his son is my friend, so he's dropping it off to my dad's friends, dropping it off to him, and then him and all his sons are getting the spread out of tickets. So my dad's constantly dropping off tickets for me, my mum's advertising it everywhere and she's sorting it out. Whoever wants tickets, she'll tell my dad drops them off, and then I'm pretty much just giving them to my close friends. So ticket wise, I've not got a lot of stress there. The only thing I need to worry about is getting my diet on point. But if I'm plant-based and I'm training well, I know my weight's coming off, and my training makes sure I'm fit enough. But if my diet's right and I'm not stressed, I'm going to be fit enough, because you put a lot more into your training. So pretty much stress wise, my mum and dad helps me a lot with that. Right.
And it obviously still gets stressful in that, but then you develop it. I've been doing it for nearly 12 years now. It'll be 12 years in this December. So you do live to kind of learn with it. It's not really stress, it's more like a nervous excitement now. Like, I'm quite looking forward to it. I look forward to going selling tickets. I look forward to getting that bit nervous about if I'm going to make enough tickets to get my pay. It's kind of like a buzz now. So I'm used to it, but if you were to ask me this 5 years ago, I'd have been panicking about it. I wouldn't have been able to answer that. But it's one of these things. You live and learn with it, as any sport.
When you're talking about nerves, when you're sitting in the dressing room about to go into a competition, into a match, how do you manage your nerves? Have you got specific music that you listen to? Or have you got a routine that you go through that you're hitting the pads? Maybe you do set combinations that just brings you into that zone. So as soon as you're stepping out off the dressing room, you're in the zone. All you're thinking about, the focus is all on the fight. What technique are you? So
as I says, I can't really remember anything what happens in the dressing room. There's only one time I can remember, and it was on my last fight there. Me and Billy, my coach, we constantly, and it was maybe for about half an hour, practiced one combination, and it was a jab, step to the side, left uppercut. We'd done that for at least half an hour, and then a little bit of the warming up on pads. Literally the second punch I threw, I'd done that exact combination and I dropped the boy. So that'll always stick in my head. So it's mainly like 2 or 3 combinations we practice, but Billy knew what that boy was going to do at that specific time, and it just so worked perfect. Step to the side, dodged his jab, left uppercut and dropped him. But it's really hard to explain. Before I don't know, I can't remember anything. It's the same with fights. The fight goes within a split second. When you're fighting, it feels like 2 hours. But after the fight's done, it's like, oh, that was quick. You didn't realise you're in a fight, and then for about a day after that, you're on cloud 9. So for the day before the fight and the day after the fight, I can't really remember anything. For the weigh-in to the day after.
Do you during your ring walk, do you use music when you're walking on, or do you not need that?
I always come out, so it's like a superstitious kind of thing. When I'm coming out, I come out to Braveheart, and then I remix the Braveheart into a song of my choice. But I always come out to Braveheart, and that's like, so everybody will have their own superstitious thing. You might like, right, I better run and touch that curb in 10 seconds or something bad will happen. Like they kind of thing. I've always got
the magpies.
Yes, so I've got my 2 superstitions are Braveheart. I need to come out to that, and as soon as I step foot in that ring, I don't take my eyes off my opponent until the first bell rings. So, and if he looks away, I've won. If I look away, I've lost.
Right.
That's what I look at. That's how I say it is. It doesn't matter if you blink, as long as your eyes are on your opponent. Just don't take them off.
And that gives you the spotlight focus.
Mental edge. A little bit of mental edge,
yeah. This is something you've not encountered very often. I was going to ask, how do you manage defeat? But you've not had much defeat. You know how a lot of boxers is, if they get beaten, it's absolutely devastating. They find it so hard to overcome that defeat. Have you got a technique that when you did lose, that you applied to get yourself through it?
The last time I got beat, bearing in mind, if I feel like I've been robbed in a fight, like I got robbed when I was 17 years old, my first year as senior. It was a close fight. Personally, I thought I won it. I thought I won 2 rounds to 1. So I didn't really care that much because I knew I was turning professional, if that makes sense. So that fight I wasn't really bothered about that one. I still thought I won it, so did everybody else. But the fight before that I lost was, I think I was 14 or 15. I can't even really remember. But all I do know is when I used to get beat, and I've been beaten four fights I have legit been beat, and it was Levi Lee in my first British Championships. That was kind of a stepping stone to see what level I was at. I had 6 fights, he had 20 fights. I think he was unbeaten actually. He beat me I think 19-10 on points back in the points days. Then I got beat at a home show. I wouldn't really say I got beat on that one, but I'll say it for purpose. And then I got beat at the European Championships, and a very close fight between myself and Tyler Jolly. It could have went either way. I'll be honest, it was a close fight. It was one of the best fights I've been in for like a mental point of view, and Tyler would probably agree with you. I went up in weight, he came down a weight. It was a fight that had to happen. He ended up getting it. I think it was a split decision. I'm not too sure on that. It might be totally different. I'm sure he won 2 rounds to 1 or whatever, or it was 3-2 on the judges' scorecard, so I didn't care. But they're like the 4 fights I would say were the ones I got beaten, besides the Tyler one. That was a close one. He won the fight, fair play, but it was one of the fights where you came out and you were actually, it was a good feeling. It wasn't like a fight where I felt terrible because I knew I got beaten, I'd done something wrong. It was one of the fights where who's won kind of thing. So that question, I didn't really kind of answer that because it's been so long, and I don't want to seem like too cocky on myself here or confident, but it has been a good bit. I've grew as a person and all that. So if I was to take a defeat now, which is not going to happen, but if I was to take a defeat now, it would be a total different scenario to when I took a defeat when I was 13 or 14.
Absolutely.
So
there's a lot more rain on it now, of course.
Aye.
It's your profession.
Definitely.
Do you employ any mindfulness or yoga or anything, any techniques such as that to help with your training?
I did start. You ever do P90X?
No.
The fitness program. It's on my fitness app, or it's on an app or whatever it is. But P90X, and they actually do a bit of yoga. I think it's either before or after training. So I done that for about 2 months. And I always do a few bits of P90X before my fights because it's ridiculously hard, and it does test your fitness out, Yeah. So I do sometimes, but it's not like my main focus. I've got like my running, and I've got quite a lot of things to do. When it comes up to a fight, there is a lot of things to do, going out, doing tickets and all that, to watching your weight, watching your food, running, training. It does take up a good majority of your day, at least 70% of it, and 20% of it's sleep. So you've got only that 10% that is for yourself, But sometimes I do. It's not my main focus, but I will do it sometimes.
Craig, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I can't thank you enough for your time. That has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
So again, thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Best of luck with everything you do in the future.
Thank you very much.
Super. Thank you for listening to the Weighin Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button. It will make a big difference.